सो अगेन गुड इवनिंग एवरीवन। हम लोग डिस्कस करने जा रहे हैं गोल्ड मार्केट के बारे में। सो मोरोवर हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे गोल्ड का मूव और देखेंगे कि मार्केट का न्यूज़ कैसी है। सो डिस्कस करने से पहले एक बार क्लियर कर दे, आप लोग को आवाज़ क्लियर है, स्क्रीन प्रॉपर्ली विजिबल है? इफ यस, काइंडली प्रेस 40 so that we can start our session from here. Okay, so हम लोग गोल्ड का मूव देख रहे हैं 1792 के आसपास मूव करते हुए देखने को मिल रहा है। वन डे की रेंज को अगर हम लोग फॉलो करें तो आज की ओपनिंग 1779.79 पे थी। 1795.63 तक का हाई बनाया है आज का। 1779.79 का लो बनाया जो कि ओपनिंग का ही प्राइस था। इसके साथ अभी 1792.0607 के लेवल्स पे मूवमेंट दिखाते हुए मार्केट लगातार करेक्शन के बाद और उसके बाद वापस से एक बार रिकवरी बनाते हुए 1792 के लेवल्स पे देखने को मिल रही है। जबकि प्रीवियस सेशन की हम लोग बात करें तो 1770 तक के लेवल्स देखने को मिल गए थे, 1772 एटलीस्ट एक्चुअली। और उसके बाद से वापस से मार्केट एक बार रिकवर करती 1792 तक के लेवल्स दिखाती हुई देखने को मिल रही है। तो जिस तरीके से मार्केट कंसोलिडेट कर रही है, उम्मीद करें दिवाली के टाइम पे एक बार अपसाइड स्पाइक अच्छी खासी देखने को मिल सकती है और आफ्टर धनतेरस इट कुड बी 1792 के लेवल्स। और हम लोग आ जाते हैं अपने न्यूज़ सेक्शन पे ज़्यादा टाइम ना वेस्ट करते हुए। So gold remains stuck in a range around 1785 ahead of US ISM. So gold gained some positive traction on Monday and moved away from 1 week lows. So हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि गोल्ड एक बार मंडे यानी कि आज वापस से पॉजिटिव ट्रैक में आते हुए दिखा है और अपने 1 वीक के लोस को टेक ओवर करते हुए worries about the risk of stagflation turned out to be a key factor that benefited the metal. The uptick lacked bullish conviction heading into this week's key central bank event risk. 1792-1791 के बीच में मार्केट फ्लक्चुएट करती हुई। So from a technical perspective, repeated failure near the 1810 to 12 resistance zone and the subsequent fall on Friday suggests that the recent positive move has run out of steam. तो हम लोग देख रहे हैं 1810 1812 के जो लेवल्स थे उस पे मार्केट बनाते हुए तो दिखी लेकिन सस्टेन करती हुई नहीं दिखी है और उसके बाद मार्केट में वापस से करेक्शन का माहौल बनता हुआ दिखा है। This might have already set the stage for a slide towards testing the 1762 support area. The corrective pullback from multi-week tops could further get extended towards October monthly swing lows around the 1745 area. On the flip side, any meaningful recovery now seems to have confront a stiff resistance near the $17.90 to 1792 region and remain kept near the 1800 mark. A sustained strength beyond could also allows bulls to make a fresh attempt to clear the 1810 to 12 barrier and push gold prices towards 1832 to 34 heavy zone supply. फंडामेंटल ओवरव्यूज की बात करते हैं सो गोल्ड प्राइस इज मूविंग बैक एंड फोर्थ विद इन $10 रेंज लैकिंग एनी क्लियर डायरेक्शनल बायस एमिड हॉलीडे एंड मार्केट कंडीशंस तो हम लोग देख रहे हैं गोल्ड का जो मूव अभी देखने को मिला है $10 की रेंज में दैट इज क्लियरली बात कर लो तो 1790 टू 1800 तक के लेवल्स मार्केट में देखने को मिल रहे हैं इस टाइम पे. So reflecting of the strengthening, the US dollar is holding the fourth near 2 week highs against its main competitors and hawkish Fed expectations, reflective of the strengthening treasury yields. Technically, gold price is wavering between the 100 and 50 daily moving averages so far this Monday, awaiting the US ISM manufacturing PMI release for the fresh trading impetus. The main event risk, however, this week remains the Fed monetary policy decision due on Wednesday. So gold edged higher during the early part of trading action on Monday and moved away from over 1 week lows touched in the previous session, albeit lacked any follow through. Data released on Friday showed that the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, the core PCE price index, held steady near 30 years highs, suggesting that consumer cost pressures and getting interest. This validated expectations that the Fed would be forced to adopt a more aggressive policy response to contain stubbornly high inflation and weighed heavily on the non-yielding yellow metal. Apart from this, a strong pickup in the US dollar demand exerted additional pressure on the dollar denominated commodity and contributed to for Friday's sharp intraday decline. Meanwhile, fears about a faster than expected rise in inflationary pressures, along with the signs of a global economic slowdown, have been fueling concerns about the risk of stagflation. This, in turn, was seen as a key factor that assisted the safe haven XAU-USD to find some support ahead of the 1770 level and gain some positive traction on the first day of the week. That said, a modest USD strength kept a lid on any meaningful upside for gold, at least for the time being. So investors also seemed reluctant to place fresh bets, rather might prefer to wait on the sidelines heading into the week's key central bank event risk. The Reserve Bank of Australia will hand down its policy update on Tuesday, while the Fed and the Bank of England are scheduled to announce their decision on Wednesday and Thursday, respectively. So, despite the RBA's dovish stance saying that conditions for a rate hike are unlikely to be met before 2024, the money markets have priced in three hikes by the end 2022. Moreover, market players seems convinced that the Fed would be forced to adopt a more aggressive policy response to the contain stubbornly high inflation. Investors have also been betting on the prospects for an imminent BOE rate hike move by the end of the year. Hawkish central bank outlook should continue to act as a headwind for gold, warranting some caution for bullish traders. This makes it prudent to wait for a strong follow through buying before positioning for any meaningful appreciating move. Market participants now look forward to release of the US ISM manufacturing PMI for the some impetus later during the early North American session. पढ़ेंगे इस डेटा को उसके पहले एक बार मूव करते हैं MT4 टर्मिनल पे तो प्राइसेस पूरी तरीके से करेक्शन के साथ 1790 के लेवल्स पे गोल्ड का मूव देख सकते हैं 1790 1791 के आसपास तो गोल्ड का मूव देख सकते हैं 1790 1791 के अप्रॉक्स मूवमेंट दिखाते हुए बहुत देर से देखने को मिल रहा है। और हम लोग मूव करते हैं अपने न्यूज सेक्शन की ओर वापस से। So gold analysis dropped below 1775. So on Friday, the yellow metals price plunged to the 1772 level before starting to recover. On Monday, the recovery of the price has retraced to the 1790 level and the previously passed support line of the last week's low levels. If the price passes the resistance of the 1790 mark, it would immediately encounter the resistance of 5500 and 200 are simple moving averages of 1791.30 and 1793.50. However, a decline of the price might look for a support in the previous lows level at 1772.35 before aiming at the November lows level of at 1767.40 and 1760.85. आ जाते हैं डिस्कस करने हम लोग कुछ चीजें। So XUSD dropped below 1780, an ominous sign ahead of Fed points to be covered today. Gold fell more than 1% and managed to build. What happened last week? The US dollar index and FOMC meeting. Gold's near term outlook could turn bearish. Gold technical outlook and gold sentimental bull. So gold fell more than 1%. Gold fell more than 1% on the last day of the month. Dollar sell off after disappointing quarter 3 GDP data remained short lived. Bears look to the 1770 and 1750 as next targets. Gold managed to build. So gold managed to build on the previous week's gain and climbed to 1810 on Monday, but staked a deep correction on Tuesday with the investors refraining from committing to large positions ahead of key events. After fluctuating in a relatively tight range near 1800, XAU spiked to 1810 once again on Thursday, but ended up closing the week in the negative territory below 1780 following Friday's plunge. So basically, what happened last week? So falling US Treasury bond yield helped XAU preserve its bullish momentum at the start of the week. Although the benchmark 10 years to US Treasury bond yield continued to push lower on Wednesday and Tuesday, the flattening yield curve with the 2-year Treasury bond yield surging higher helped the greenback gather strength and limited gold upside potential. So durable goods declined. So the data from the US showed that on Wednesday that durable goods ordered declined by 0.4% on a monthly basis in October. This reading came in better than the market expectation for a decline of 1.1% but failed to trigger a noticeable market reaction. The US Bureau of Economic Analysis इसको डिस्कस करने से पहले हम लोग आ जाते हैं अपने MT4 टर्मिनल पे क्योंकि 9 बज चुके हैं और एक दूसरी कैंडल फॉर्मेशन का टाइम। 1791.1415 के levels. ये भी कैंडल एक शॉर्ट रेड कैंडल बनती हुई, अगर हम लोग स्टोकेस्टिक की बात करें तो क्रॉसओवर बन चुका है और प्राइसेस थोड़े से करेक्शन के लिए रेडी होते हुए दिख रहे हैं 1791.2329 के लेवल्स पे स्लाइड करेक्शन के साथ। 1790.6970 स्लाइड करेक्शन के साथ लगातार मार्केट डाउन होती हुई देखने को मिली है, जितनी तेजी बनाई थी और उतने ही करेक्शन की ओर। प्राइसेस स्लाइटली मूव करते हुए दिख रहे हैं। हम लोग आ जाते हैं अपने डिस्कशन पॉइंट पे। So the US Bureau of Economic Analysis on Thursday, the US Bureau of Economic Analysis, that is PEA, announced that The real gross domestic product, that is GDP, expanded at an annual rate of 2% in the third quarter, with the print falling short of analyst estimate for a growth of 2.7%. The dollar came under heavy selling pressure. With this print falling short of analysis estimate for a growth of 2.7%, the dollar came under heavy selling pressure. XAU-USD retreated to 1800 area. Underlying details. So, underlying details of the support, however, showed that the sharp decline witnessed in the motor vehicle output had a large negative impact on the headline GDP figure. Moreover, the weekly report published by the US Department of Labor revealed that there were 281,000 initial claims for unemployment benefits during the week ending October 23. Hence, the dollar sell-off softened heading into the last day of the week, and XAU-USD retreated the 1800 area. The European Central Bank ended its policy. So, meanwhile, the European Central Bank left its policy setting unchanged and didn't offer any details regarding the planned adjustment to the Pandemic Emergency Purchase Program (PEPP). During the press conference, ECB During the press conference, ECB President Christine Lagarde acknowledged that inflation in the euro area would remain high for the longer than initially anticipated and sounded relatively optimistic regarding the economic outlook. The greenback weakened against the shared currency. So, commenting on the market pricing of an ECB rate hikes in the second half of the 2022, our analysis certainty does not support that the conditions of our forward guidance are satisfied at of liftoff as expected by the markets, nor any time sooner thereafter, Lagarde said. These comments did little to nothing to alter the market's view, and a 10 basis point rate hike was fully priced in for July 2022 at the time of press. Although the greenback weakened against the shared currency, the steep drop seen in the XAU EUR pair kept XAU USD gains. The US dollar index, so ahead of the weekend, gold suffered heavy losses amid month end flows and rising US Treasury bond yields. The US dollar index, which tracks the dollar's performance against a basket of six major currencies, is Thursday's losses in a decisive rebound. The BEA reported that the core personal consumption expenditure price index stayed unchanged at 3.6% on a yearly basis in September. The highly anticipated FOMC meeting, so the ISM manufacturing PMI, will be featured in the US economic decade on Monday. Ahead of the highly anticipated FOMC meeting later in the week, an upbeat PMI print could help investors forget the disappointing GDP report and boost the dollar. ADP employment change data. On the other hand, a dismal PMI survey could force participants to stay on the sidelines while they try to figure out whether the Fed will wait until December before starting to reduce asset purchases. The ADP employment change data and the ISM services PMI report are likely to be ignored before the Fed announced its monetary policy decision at 1800 GMT. If policymakers decide to go ahead with the taper in November and adopt a hawkish tone, the greenback could outperform its rivals and gold's near term outlook could turn bearish. It will be interesting to see if the Fed will remain focused on the inflation outlook rather than the loss of growth momentum in the third quarter. In case FOMC Chairman Jerome Powell downplays inflation concerns and sound concerned about the quarter 3 GDP data, the dollar could come under renewed selling pressure and allow XAU USD to turn north. On Thursday, the Bank of England will announce its interest rate decision. Although this event is unlikely to have a direct impact on gold, it could affect the dollar's market valuation and ramp up the market volatility. Finally, the US Bureau of Labor Statistics will release the October jobs report. The market consensus point to increase of 4,25,000 in non-farm payrolls, following the disappointing print of 1,94,000 in September. FOMC, following the FOMC meeting, however, the labor market data is unlikely to alter the market theme by itself. Nevertheless, a strong NFP figure could still support the greenback and vice versa. बात करते हैं गोल्ड टेक्निकल आउटलुक की. आ जाते हैं अपने MT4 टर्मिनल पे, तो देख सकते हैं एक और शॉर्ट ट्रेड कैंडल बनती हुई. सो देख सकते हैं गोल्ड का मूव 1791.2830 के लेवल्स पे. मार्केट वापस से स्लाइड अपसाइड मूव करती हुई दिख रही है और हम लोग आ जाते हैं अपने डिस्कशन पॉइंट पे. So with Friday's sharp decline, gold fell below the 200 days, 100 day and 50 days simple moving averages. Additionally, the relative strength index indicator on the daily chart retreated below 50. On the daily chart, it retreated below 50, suggesting that bearish momentum is picking up steam. Suggesting that bearish momentum is picking up steam, XAU-USD seems to have broken below the ascending trend line that has been acting as support since the beginning of October. Gold technical outlook. So on the downside, the support is located at 1770, that is former resistance, Fibonacci 61.8% retracement of April-June uptrend ahead of 1750, that is a statical level. A daily close below the latter could open the door for additional losses towards 1730. On the flip side, a strong resistance seems to have formed at 1790. 100 days simple moving average, 200 days simple moving average before 1800, that is psychological level, and 1810, that is our static level. The weekly price action showed that 1810 is a key hurdle that and the near term technical outlook. The weekly price action showed that 1810 is a key hurdle and the near term technical outlook could turn bullish if buyers manage to lift XAU USD. So sentiment पोल की बात करें तो 1 week के एवरेज फोरकास्टिंग 1794, फॉर 1 month it is 1804 and for 1 quarter 1788. आ जाते हैं MT4 टर्मिनल पे. 1790 के लेवल्स ट्रेस करने के बाद वापस से मार्केट एक बार 1793 तक के लेवल्स पे जाती हुई देखने को मिल रही है. देख सकते हैं एक दूसरी कैंडल फॉर्मेशन शॉर्ट रेड कैंडल के साथ 1792.74 के लेवल्स पे मूव करते हुए 1792.7475 के लेवल्स। सो वापस से एक बार 1790 1791 के लेवल्स आ जाते हैं आप लोग अपने डिस्कशन पॉइंट पे। So precious gold stuck in a range as investor look ahead of the Fed meet. So higher inflation data test Fed transitory inflation view. Gold stuck in a range pound trade Fed in focus analyst. Dollar steadies close to more than 2 week high hit on Friday. So gold prices were hemmed into a range on Monday ahead of a key Federal Reserve meeting out this week where the focus in the central bank's plan for tapering its pandemic stimulus measures. So spot gold gained 0.07% at 1784.08 per ounce by 11:42 GMT after touching a more one week low on Friday. US gold futures for December delivery edged up 0.03% to 1784.30 per ounce. Gold has been range bound for nearly 5 months. We need some fresh air coming into markets, and this week's Fed meeting could be such an event, said Ole Hansen, head of commodity strategy at Saxo Bank in Copenhagen. We already are seeing the market pricing in a rate hike around May or June next year, which is almost a year earlier than what the market was expecting a few months ago. And that has been the latest challenge for gold. Reduced stimulus and interest rate hikes tend to push government bond yield up, raising the opportunity cost of holding non interest bearing gold. Data on Friday showed that jury was still out on the Fed's view that is inflation is transitory and should moderate with time, with the personal consumption expenditure price index advancing last month. The Fed, which conclude her 2 day meeting on Wednesday, is expected to say it will start to taper bond purchases, though the focus is on close out rates lift off. While stricter inflation could translate into a stronger bid for gold, the precious metal has to muscle past other asset classes in vying for investors' attention as a hedge against faster inflation, said Henton, chief market analyst at Xfinity. The dollar index steadied close to a more than 2 week high lit on Friday, making bullions less appealing to holders of other currencies. Elsewhere, silver fell 0.1% to 23.82 per ounce. Platinum rose 1.1% to 1029 per ounce. Palladium slipped 0.4% to 1995.13 per ounce. MT4 टर्मिनल का मूव देखते हैं तो 1790.11 के लेवल्स पे मूवमेंट के साथ मार्केट सो हम लोग डिस्कस करते हैं एक छोटी सी क्लिप.
Our next guest is Tarek Mansour. He is the CEO of Kalshi, the first federally regulated exchange for events-driven markets. This is a very interesting concept because this exchange allows investors and traders to bet entirely on events, not equities, not bonds, but outcomes. And we'll be discussing what this means exactly. Tarek, welcome to Kitco. Welcome to the show. Happy to have you here.
Great to be here, David. Excited for the chat.
Give us a 1-minute summary of what Kalshi is.
Absolutely. So Kalshi is the first federally regulated exchange that allows people to trade on the outcome of events. Think of things around, will Brexit happen by the end of the year? Will it rain tomorrow? Or will a COVID vaccine be discovered this fall? I think the novelty of Kalshi is that we're the first exchange that managed to get regulated to allow people to access trading on events. So we're the first platform that has gotten approval from the CFTC, the commodities regulator in the US, to allow people to trade on this asset class.
It's interesting the CFTC is involved. Would you categorize the things that you're trading to be commodities?
Absolutely. So in the US jurisdiction, there's what we call the Commodities Exchange Act, which is kind of the legal framework for regulating commodities. And event contracts, sort of the ability to trade on an asset class where the underlying is an event, right? For commodities, oftentimes we think about the underlying as something physical like oil or gas or metals. In this case, the underlying is an event, also falls strictly within the definition of a commodity, which is why what people are trading on the exchange, on the Kalshi exchange, is the commodity, is commodities and derivatives on commodities.
Interesting. I have an image of your website here. Let's take a look at the platform itself, and we'll go through some examples. So this is just on the front page. Will over 225 million Americans be vaccinated for COVID-19 by November 1st? Will 2021 be the hottest year on record? Will the corporate tax rate be raised above 21% by the end of the year? This is really interesting because investors and traders indirectly trade on these questions, right? Because you buy a stock that's related to COVID, let's say Pfizer or another pharmaceutical, or you buy a stock that you think will benefit from inflation or something like that. But these questions allow you to bet directly on the outcome itself. So let's just go through one of them. How can I interpret this chart? On the right-hand side, you've got yes, 1 cent, no, 99 cents, and a green line. What does that mean?
Yeah, this is great. So the chart is essentially the price at which this commodity, this ticker, has traded over time. Similar to a stock or a commodity or any of the other asset classes. Now, what this means specifically is, today at this point, the market is pricing sort of, this market settling to yes at a very low probability. It's saying that there's a 2% chance that over 225 million Americans will be vaccinated by November 1st.
Interesting.
Right? This market has been sort of trading Yeah, this market has just recently opened, so you see that the graph has not started yet. But if you go into a market like Jerome Powell or others, you can see how the graph moved over time,
All
and it'll
right,
be a little bit more dynamic.
let's take a look at well, a replacement for Jerome Powell be, and roughly how many people are betting on one of these questions at any given time?
And you can place on the all below the graph, so you can see all the history
volume,
instead of
85,000 contracts, open interest. Wow. Okay. So right now, what this is telling me is that most people don't think that a replacement for Jerome Powell is coming in December. Is that how I'm interpreting it?
Absolutely. Yes, correct. So if you click on all and the bottom of the graph, there's like a an all button to see kind of the full graph history right below the graph.
Yeah.
And so you can see how this kind of price tracked over time, right? It's been sort of averaging around 25% or so, which is where the market is pricing the probability of this event. The market thinks that there's a 25% chance of Jerome Powell being ousted from his current role, obviously as the head of the central bank.
Okay. And how can I participate? Let's say I want to bet on this event. I want to buy yes or no. What's the next step for me?
Yeah, so you basically, obviously you sign up, which right now is in the case, but then you specify the number of contracts you want to buy. So above sign up, you can sort of scroll through this sort of scroller to determine the quantity that you want to buy.
Yeah,
and then it will tell you sort of what your exposure would be. You would buy it at the price that is 26 cents. You think there's a 25% chance of this happening.
Mm-hmm.
You determine the amount of contracts that you want to buy, and it gives you immediate potential profit if you end up being in the money.
So if I buy 10,000 contracts, I make about 7.5 grand. If I go to no, if I buy 10,000 contracts, it should give me less because it's a higher percent probability. Okay, interesting.
Exactly.
That's very, very cool, Tarek. So now what's the payout structure like? So is it by the end of a certain time period that I'm able to know the outcome? Is it December 1st, closing on December 1st, 2020? So what happens after 4 p.m. December 1st?
Great question. So, let's say you bought a number of yes shares, right?
Yeah.
Let's take the example that you bought 100 yes shares and make it simple at 25 cents.
Okay.
Right?
100.
You would have to pay approximately, or 1,000. 1,000 is easy.
Yeah, let's do 1,000.
You would have to pay approximately, $250 to enter the trade. And then if you end up being in the money, this is the profit that you're going to be making. Around $750, $770 if you end up being in the money. So you're talking about a 3 to 4x return. And this is what's great about event contracts is that they're sort of higher return type assets. They allow you to sort of get high returns if you have convictions behind the predictions, the trades that you're about to make.
And if I'm out of the money, what happens? I lose $250?
Correct. You lose the collateral that you invested, which is similar to options or futures or typical asset classes.
It's a binary outcome. It's basically you win or you lose in this case. Yeah,
correct.
It's not like a stock where you're in the money by a little bit. You can still earn. Yeah, I understand. Okay, tell me one of the most interesting questions that have been posed recently.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a variety of things. I think one that was surprisingly I would say interesting is about sort of the U.S. government defaulting a few weeks ago, right? At some point, there was a lot of debate around the debt ceiling and whether the Senate was going to raise it and if they didn't, the U.S. government was going to default. And there was sort of, at some point there was a little bit of uncertainty, and then people started trading a lot on that specific market.
Yeah.
And at some point, it was priced at like 20 to 30% chance of it happening, which is which was very risky.
In your so far, Tarek, how often do the outcomes actually end up exactly on the same side of the bet? So let's say more people believe. Let's go back to the platform one more time. I'm just going to pick an example. Okay, so will New York City close indoor dining? The overwhelming majority of bettors think no by December 31st. So if this question were posed in the past, how likely is it that the no team actually turns out to be correct?
Usually the no team will turn out to be correct. The market is very good at pricing things. More often than not, the no team will be correct. Now, that said, there are instances in the past where the small minority ends up actually being in the money because there's a surprise resolution. And we've got this. I think 2 weeks ago we've had a market around a decision by the U.S. Senate around what we call the infrastructure bill. That was a very, very big decision. People, thought it was going to go one way, and then suddenly last minute, Joe Biden was late in signing sort of the bill, and then it went in the other way. And then, there was a massive price swing, and the people that bought at 1 cent bought the sort of lower probability outcome. They made like 100x return.
Wow. You've got a question here about the infrastructure bill. Will it become law by, well, that's coming up. So the overwhelming majority. So, I mean, so in your example, for example, the no team is the overwhelming majority, but it's possible that the outcome switches the other way and the yes team could have a huge, massive payoff.
It's always possible, and it happens, and the payoff is quite massive, as you said.
Right? What I'm trying to get here is, sorry, sorry, I cut you off. The payoff could be quite massive.
Yeah, correct.
What I'm wondering here, Tarek, is a trader could potentially just go on your website, look at this, and use this as a sentiment gauge. Because if I want to know what the market's thinking in terms of any one of these events, and I want to know if one of these events could affect another trade that I have, I could use this as a sentiment indicator, right? Have you published something like on your website or an index or anything like that?
Absolutely. I mean, this is exactly right. You're absolutely right, David, in the sense that the great thing, the beauty about these event contracts, these events trades, is at any point in time, the price at which it's trading is really the wisdom of the crowds. Is the crowds is giving us a probability where the public sentiment is at, and it's telling you, what the public thinks is going to happen with, like, let's say the hurricane in this case,
right?
And right now the public is thinking it's not going to happen. And you can see the price swing here, right? A few weeks ago, they really thought it was going to happen. And then, now it's really out of the money. So people that bought
35,000 contracts. Yeah. What happened here? How would you know? How could you possibly know something like this? Are they meteorologists betting on this? Like, I suppose if you're working.
You'd be surprised by like how good people that just read the news are at these things. I mean, at the end of the day, people trade on stocks and commodities, which are way more complex than trading on something like this.
I'm just
because
curious.
A stock and commodity has a lot of. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just curious if I put 1,000 contracts in. That's about
$100. Yes.
Should do it for yes. Yeah, there's not a lot of money for the no's because that's what the overwhelming majority think. If I do 10,000 contracts, my potential profit is 10,000. All right, so let's hope that there's a huge hurricane. No, I'm kidding. Hurricanes are terrible. But okay, I see the point. Give me another example of a really interesting question that came up to you. Well, first of all, before we do that, who poses these questions? How are these markets made?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have an internal team. We call it the markets team, as a number of economists and that really think about what are the most important risks, what are the most important sort of topics every week, every month, and then we list markets based on that. Now, that said, we can list things very dynamically, and a lot of our users and members suggest markets, and we post them based on these suggestions.
Okay. All right. So I can't, as a user, as an investor, I can't create a market. I can't pose a question and have other people trade on it.
You can create one. It will go through kind of our vetting. We make sure that it's all good. It's clearly defined. All of that. There's a proper settlement source, and then we post it.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of potential for, I don't want to say insider trading, but let's say I pose a question where I have intimate knowledge of. I mean, I would have a market advantage, would I not? How would you regulate that?
Exactly. That's a great question. That's why we have a whole process to vet the questions and make sure that they're okay from a variety of perspectives. And one of these perspectives is essentially making sure that they're not readily available or susceptible to manipulation. And that's a very important regulatory piece of the equation. So we have we have a bunch of systems that monitor trading on the platform and flag any suspicious trades. The same thing as what happens on the New York Stock Exchange for insider trading. And if you see anything suspicious, we have a compliance department that investigates this and then can escalate it to our, compliance department, chief regulatory officer, and then even the CFTC. And the CFTC can, criminally prosecute people that do these types of bad acts, the same way that the SEC prosecutes insider trading on the New York Stock Exchange.
And before I let you go, Tarek, give us one more example of just personally what you think is another very interesting question that you've seen recently.
Yeah, I mean, I think me personally, I think one of the things that has been really interesting to me is we've put a contract on um, the number of people that are going to be traveling through U.S. airports in the next month. And to me, it's really interesting because I travel a lot and it matters. I hate waiting in lines. And you know, it's been funny enough. I wish I could. I can't trade on the exchange because obviously I would become have a conflict of interest. But if I could trade on it, I would put a trade every time I would travel, and see, you know, how I end up, basically how my trade would end up faring.
What's the sentiment there? Do people favor travel right now? Do they think that there's going to be a lot of travel? What do people on the website think?
Yeah, I mean, right now they're pricing it around, you know, uh, for weekly average, they're pricing it around 1.7 or so million travelers on a weekly basis, which is, I think, average, nothing too special. I'm assuming it's going to spike close to Thanksgiving, and this is where I think there's going to be most of the volatility and most of the returns to be made.
Interesting. Tarek, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. This has been a very, very cool talk. I'll have you back on again soon, and we'll talk about new trades that people are placing and use that as a sentiment gauge for traders. And for now, where can people see this platform? It's Kalshi.com, correct?
Correct. KLSHI.com.
And
Kalshi.
what is the sign-up process? I just have to submit my personal information?
Yeah, super easy. You know, like a typical brokerage app. It takes, I think, 30 seconds or less, and then you're in.
How many people roughly are on this platform right now?
We have around, you know, 10 to 20,000 currently.
Very cool, very cool. And you're hoping to grow this, obviously, right? Where were you maybe a year ago? How many users?
We actually launched the product in July, so it's been out for 2 months. We've been in closed beta. We just opened it up to the public, so anyone can sign up and trade now, and then we're going to start growing very soon.
So from July to now, a couple of months, you've already grown from 0 to 10,000 users.
Correct.
All right. Well, congratulations on your launch. Best of luck, and I'll speak soon, Tarek.
Great. Thanks, David. Talk soon.
And thank you for watching Kiko News. I'm David Lin. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
ओके सो MT4 टर्मिनल पे देखते हैं तो प्राइसेस पूरी तरीके से रेंज बाउंड होते हुए 1790 टू 1795 के लेवल्स के बीच में। एक दूसरी कैंडल फॉर्मेशन 1791.9394 के लेवल्स पे। 1792.0607 के लेवल्स प्राइजेस मूवमेंट के साथ। सेवनटीन 92.1516 के लेवल्स प्राइजेस स्लाइड मूवमेंट के साथ देखने को मिल रहा है। सो हमारी साइट से आज के लिए इतना ही। अगर आप लोग की साइड से कोई भी क्वेरी हो आप लोग कमेंट सेक्शन में मेंशन कर सकते हैं। सो अगर आप लोग की साइड से कोई भी क्वेरी हो तो आप लोग कमेंट सेक्शन में मेंशन कर सकते हैं। और अगर आप लोग को सब कुछ क्लियर है तो काइंडली प्रेस 100 टू एंड विद दिस सेशन राइट हियर। ओके, सो हम लोग आज का सेशन यहीं पे एंड करते हैं। बाकी की चीज़ें कल के सेशन में डिस्कस करेंगे कि गोल्ड का आगे का आने वाला मूव कैसा रहा और वापस की न्यूज़ एनालिसिस कैसी रही। सो तब तक के लिए थैंक यू सो मच एंड आई एम एंडिंग दिस सेशन राइट हियर राइट नाउ।